we, the people, have an opportunity to decide the direction our country is going to go, and it's going to involve getting other people engaged. So we need to stop trying to get people invested in political parties and start getting people invested in candidates.
You have found your way to the place for unfiltered truth and the deep dives into conversations that it will take to make some real changes. That's right, you are on From Dirt We Grow. I am your host, Stephanie Kendall. I want to thank you for being here. And I'd also like to thank you in advance for all your support, whether that be subscribing or following, like, share, a comment here and there, or any combination of. As I mentioned, this is a space that brings the deep dives into conversations that we need to be having. And today is no different as we are talking with yet another candidate running for Congress 2026. Now, I just want to make it clear that although these interviews I've been featuring lately are pretty state specific as far as, who can vote for them. However, what they have to say is much bigger than any one state or district. It's about the direction of this country and whether we as the people are still going to choose to have a voice in it. Let's go ahead and welcome Jamie Hill. They are running in Michigan's 2nd district. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Well, thank you for having me on today.
Are you like a career politician? What have you been up to?
I am absolutely not a career politician. I have decided to be the ultimate glutton for punishment and run for Congress as my first foray into politics.
So why now?
So I've spent my entire life living in rural Michigan and working and supporting my community. And as a member of the LGBTQ community, I started to get really anxious and nervous when, Trump was elected this second time around. And my initial thoughts were to try to hide and ride it out because, after all, we've had bad presidencies in the past and we've survived. And, how bad could it get? Well, obviously, we're finding that out. So,
You had to ask, didn't you?
yeah, yeah. So I started getting involved in the protest movement, supporting them, and started looking for how do I fit in this role. And then I ended up finding my way to a couple Democratic Party meetings, and they were talking about needing, or people to run, so we have, don't have uncontested races. And I realized if we don't have candidates running against the Republican incumbents or even some of the corporate Democrat incumbents, the protests don't have any teeth to them. They don't have any reason to be worried about or change. So I decided that I had a resume and a history that I thought would be compelling to the people in my district. And ultimately, I need to be able to look my kids in the eye at the end of all this and say I did everything I could to give them an America that was better than the one I was born into.
Ooh, absolutely. I feel that. You are all about no corporate funding, correct? You want to take the money out.
Yes, it's a catch 22 we find ourselves in. We need to take the corporate money out of politics, but we need to get people elected, and we have to fight that corporate money. So we have to grassroots fund this is the only way we can make it work, and it seems overwhelming. I haven't seen my incumbent his dollar amount, but the last federal filing he had like $2 million in cash, almost all from corporations.
Oh my goodness.
And that's a seemingly overwhelming number, but even in my rural district, if everybody who voted Democratic last election donated $10, that would be $1.3 million for a candidate to challenge the status quo. And
Wow.
that's what we need to be looking at it as those little $5 and $10 donations can make a huge difference once we start adding them up. But absolutely, we need to get people elected so we can change the rules and get that money out of politics. As soon as you start taking that corporate money, you stop representing the people of your district and start representing the corporations. And when I look at the corporate PACs that donate to the a lot of the other candidates in this area, that none of these have businesses in the district. They're not doing business here. They don't have employees here. They're just buying a politician to represent them. And it's not even pretend that it's about the district.
What about your other policies? What else do you stand for?
So I'm in the healthcare industry. I'm currently a physician assistant, and I was a paramedic for close to 17 years. So I've seen the healthcare and social safety nets fail people along the way, and it doesn't need to be that way. And we have the resources to make sure everyone has healthcare. So that's going to be my primary goal is working on single payer access to healthcare in whatever form it ends up needing to be. Now, can we get there in one single lift? Absolutely not. So we need to triage it, which is, return ACA subsidies until we can get a better fix. Then work on making sure the Veterans Affairs, Indian Health Services, they all have the best funding available, because there's no reason that the VA is not the absolute best healthcare system in the world that everyone else copies. We spend the money to go to war, we can spend the money to take care of people on the back end. Then we need to work at going towards some form of single payer healthcare, because that will fix or at least help so many problems in our society right now. Is by making sure everyone has healthcare, we can eliminate medical debt, which is one of the largest causes of bankruptcy. We can allow people to start their own business because they're not afraid of losing their health insurance from their employer. People can move from employment to employment easier, which will force wages to come up to attract good employees. It'll start to affect the, drug and alcohol addiction problems, because a lot of those are mental health issues that are being self-medicated, or at least a driver of what started that decline into addiction. And also start to work on violence issues as well. We always hear about it anytime there's a tragedy that it's a mental health problem. Then let's fix mental health and stop just talking about it.
Yeah, it's been a taboo kind of issue for so long, and it does seem to be commonplace to talk about it more than it was in the past. But yeah, that's definitely been a huge issue, and everything is interconnected. Like you just said, this will affect this, and then this will help this, and
There's really no single issue issues. Everything is
yeah.
interconnected. As soon as you start voting or thinking about things as an absolute one, only addressing this one issue, is how we start getting into all of these other associated problems, where we silo resources and funding and goals, and we create this system that's working against itself, instead of looking at it more holistically and how can we affect the community as a whole in a positive way.
This is a huge thing for me. What it resonated with me, I saw one of your videos. You were fixing up your house,
Yep.
and you're going through the electrical, and it's kind of out with the old, in with the new kind of thing. It's outdated.
Yeah, we've reached this point where you can patch something up, and that's why I was using that analogy of my house. It's got this wiring that's been worked on over the years, and it was great in the 40s when it was put in and it worked. But society's needs have changed, where we've got more demand on our electrical systems and we've got more societal demand for other things. So it's very similar to how our Congress has not been evolving with the times to actually be able to address the needs of the American public, because it's not the same as it was in the 1940s. And you can patch it together as much as you can, but the last year has shown us where this patchwork creates a problem. And this is where, when we talk about like waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, like it exists, but it exists in those silos where places aren't working together, or it's just ineffective for a modern environment. It doesn't mean we need to throw it all away without a plan, just like you don't rewire your house without a plan. You come in, you get the new systems implemented and improved and inspected and ready to go. Then you disconnect the old system and start operating on the new one. And my biggest hope here out of all of this is, with Doge and so much of the destruction that's been happening in the federal government, is these systems are broken to the point we can now rebuild them the way they need to be for a modern society.
Yes, I completely agree.
Congress is supposed to be the easily attainable position for the average person. It was never designed to be a lifetime appointment, essentially. We need to change who's willing to run.
Or make it easier for normal people to run.
Yes. And even just the fact that people who are out there that are announcing and running, and they may not make it through the primary, they're out there driving these conversations. It might not make a lot of change in this election, but it'll make a change in the one after that and the one after that if we keep coming back. I don't see myself becoming a career politician because I don't think career politicians should be a thing. Because we
Good
need
point.
people who understand how the real world works. And there's a point where you're going to lose that connection with the real world once you've been in Washington. I think that's our probably, if you boiled it down, is one of the biggest complaints about politicians is they just don't understand. We need to be training up the next generation of leaders behind us to take over. Like, I don't want to be 80 years old in Congress and like what? Why?
Yeah, true that.
That's what I'm running on is of the people who are both the incumbent or the other Democrat candidates are running in my district aren't true rural Michiganders. They didn't grow up in a small town. They don't really understand. There's this thing in small towns. Like, I grew up, it was a bit of a touristy area, so we'd always have the people who would come up from the city to their vacation homes and then tell us we were doing it wrong because
Oh,
we were just the dumb country folk. And that really, really irritates people because we are here all the time surviving and we don't have a place to go back anywhere else. We're making do with what we have. And that's what we need to represent rural Michigan or any rural district is people who have lived and grown up in the rural areas and understand the problems that we face.
what made you change your views of things? You grew up Republican.
In a way, I don't feel that my views changed a whole lot. I think the party shifted out from underneath of me. I grew up in a conservative area. There was no Democrats running on anything. I didn't even know Democrats existed as a kid growing up, because there was just nothing other than they were the evil boogeyman. Getting to be familiar with myself and realizing that yes, I'm a non-binary individual, and watching the Republican Party just demonize LGBTQ people more and more and more, along with the rest of the conservative movement, was just like I can't vote for someone who doesn't think I have the right to exist. So I always say the Republican Party made me liberal.
I can see how that have a lot to do with it.
And part of it is life experience and being able to really objectively see that these Republican policies aren't supporting the people like they need it. These are failed policies.
Thinking of that, politicians not being so trustworthy nowadays. How can people trust you?
So I don't have a voting record, and that's one of the things that I really upfront about. And like, I think it really has to come down to is you have to look at what I've done with my life. And from I started getting into EMS following 9/11. That was kind of my journey into public service. And I've always been there for the community when I've had opportunities to go somewhere else and do something more lucrative, not in a rural area. I lived in the same small community for 42 years roughly until once I became a PA. As an open non-binary person, I couldn't find any work in any of the local systems over there. So, which should have been my clue to like, hey, maybe you should go somewhere more accepting. But I'm a wee bit stubborn. I want to stay in rural Michigan. That's home. But I've stayed when a lot of other people haven't. And I've always tried to do my best to help my community in whatever way, whatever ability that I had in whatever role. So that's the same type of thing I'm going to take to Congress is I've never gotten to choose who I helped as a first responder, as a PA. It's whoever calls, whoever shows up, they get all the help that I can give them, no strings attached. Like, I don't really have a whole lot to personally gain out of this. Going to Congress isn't a huge pay bump, and it's a whole lot of stress and everything else. But the reason I want to do it is because I want to help my neighbors do better.
Well, where can people find you?
So electjamiehill.com is our website, and pretty much Electjamiehill will find you on any other social media. On Facebook is our other primary, a little bit on Instagram. And then, if you are in Michigan 2nd Congressional District, which is a really big geographic district, find those websites and follow, and you'll be able to find me out meeting people in the district somewhere.
Yes, find Jamie Hill. I need you. We need you.
And a like and a share on the social medias, even if you're not in my district, is
Yeah.
always helpful. There's no problem in American society that hasn't already been solved around a kitchen table or a bonfire.
Yeah, or in another country.
Yeah, yeah, but like the solutions are out there from the people who work in it every day. The problem is when you look at our makeup of Congress, most of them have law degrees and have never actually worked, a quote unquote real job.
Right.
But we need to have enough of a momentum to be able to force the average person's voice to be heard.
I agree. Let's see what we can do here.
Ultimately, money doesn't vote, people vote. I made a video about it. I've seen a couple other people making videos about it, about this whole concept of call time, where you sit on the phone calling the list of people who have donated significant sums of money in the past
Mm.
and basically beg them for money. And it's like anytime you're doing that, there's an implied tit for tat going on there of you need to be representing my best interests if I'm going to continue this. It really just comes down to is we're this weird inflection point in America where we, the people, have an opportunity to decide the direction our country is going to go, and it's going to involve getting other people engaged. So we need to stop trying to get people invested in political parties and start getting people invested in candidates.
There you go. I like that.
I'm not here to represent the Democratic Party. I'm here to represent the people of the 2nd Congressional District.
I'll have their information in the episode description box, of course, but just get on social media and find these grassroots people making the efforts and running for the right reasons. So I want to thank you so much for being here, Jamie, and we will be looking out for you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely. And you're welcome back anytime, and we'll be rooting for you.
All righty. Thank you.
And thank you all for being here. Make sure you come back next time for another episode of From Dirt We Grow. Have a good one, guys.